Welcome back to Harley Davidson Machine Shop, and I'm your host, Don Dyer, factory certified Harley Davidson technician, December 11th, 1981. And what I'm going to call to your attention today is service bulletin number M743. Cam gear selection color codes. Now, or they say here, cam gear selection for quiet operation. Now, this is kind of a complicated thing, and there's some confusion here. And I'm going to read you something right here. Original gears may be different sizes, different color codes. To produce a properly matched set in any one engine, part order match sets of gears are of one color. But that doesn't mean that those gears are going to run quietly. Now, if the gears are too tight, they'll howl. You'll hear a howl out of the cam compartments. If they're too loose, then you can get a lifter noise, a click that won't go away, because when the cam rolls over and lifters close, it can kind of cause the gears to click. And if the engine happens to have a generator like old Sportsters or pre-70 Big Twins, you can loosen the generator. Now, this is just in the shop, and load the gears by just twisting the generator into the gear train while the engine's running, idling along there, and it's going click, 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 click. You can take and load it with the generator. If the click goes away, then you know that you have to increase the size of the gear. Now, another thing you can do, and it's a good thing to do, if you change a cam, like back in the day, people would want to go with a slightly higher lift cam. You got to be very careful about that, to not get coil bind up in the heads with the springs. So here we have a pinion gear here, it's an old style one, and a cam gear. Now, the wise way to do it, if the engine's running good, you're not getting the click or a howl, you want to change cams, is press the old gear off the cam that was in the engine and press the gear onto the new cam. And you'll see a slot in the cam that you can scribe on the gear. Like Andrews would already have those lines scribed. Then you can line it up and push the cam back into the gear. Now, you can, if you got one that's howling, then you can go with the smaller gear, and they say maybe two sizes at a time. And the way the gears are measured, and I'll hold this up, is with a micrometer with 105 thousandths wires in the gear teeth. And they'll show you down here, maybe it's right here, the selection of gears versus the color code. And I was kind of shocked looking at this. If you have an orange gear, which is one of the smallest, the range and size is about 4 thousandths variation. So like an orange gear across the wires will be 1.756 to 1.4751. So it's about 4 thousandths, it looks like, variation in even the color codes. And here, I'll read this here if I didn't before. Original gears may be different sizes, different color codes. That's the gears in the engine that were fit at the factory. And I saw an odd jig that they used to do that. And I wasn't quite sure how it worked, but they were putting together sets of gears per engine. And so part order a matched set of gears are of one color. So you can order it, probably not anymore, I don't know if that stuff's available, but you can order a set of gears, a matched set of gears, and they're matched, but they may not work in your engine without howling or getting that click. So some engines, the gears will all have the same daub of paint on them. That's the color code. Orange being the smallest and black being the largest. So a smaller gear on the, what is this? I think this is the, they had a change here where there are some 54 to early 77, 77 and later are a little bit are of a different pitch. So you want to be sure to get the right pitch. But the best bet is stay with the gears you have if you're going to change a cam, and just push the gear onto the cam. This is not beginning mechanics. Working on old Harleys and stuff is advanced mechanics. There's no easy way to do it, and it takes an incredible amount of effort. I think that's why I found them interesting. They were a real challenge, no matter what you're doing with these things. So there's another thing here too I thought was interesting, and as pointed out throughout these service bulletins, big thick things in service bulletins, and at the factory school, is keep your eye out for defective parts. You know, parts from the factory can't be defective. Parts from the aftermarket likely are defective. So it's saying here that the gears can be out around, and there's just a lot of factors. You can have a crankshaft out of true and cause the pinion gear to be out around, and that was particularly true on the twin cams when they were the early ones didn't have a very good press fit, and the pinion shaft can run out considerably, but they went to a chain, and a tensioner, and it's not as noticeable. But if your crankshaft's out on a twin cam, it'll wear that tensioner out rapidly. So if you wonder why one tensioner on a twin cam wear it out really quick, and another guy's run his for 80,000 miles or so, I don't know. But that, from my experience, which isn't a whole lot on twin cams, because I stopped in 06 on this stuff, was that the chain tensioners can be worn out by that. So you need to, if you have the nose cone off of it or the cam cover, you can put a dial indicator on the pinion shaft and see how much run out you got. And it shouldn't be more than a couple thousandths under ideal conditions. But a lot of times it'd be 10, 15 thousandths out. And what we did with those engines, or I did, was get the crankshaft out of it, knock it true, weld the pin into the flywheels, like the dirt bike guys, the racing dirt bike guys do. But once you weld the pin in, then you got to true the crankshaft again. So there's that. And I just wanted to point that out, that there are these color-coded gears. If you got a Howling engine, then you can drop down into a smaller gear, smaller pinion gear, smaller cam gear. Of course, the pinion gear would be easy to change. So if you got a click, then you're going to have to kind of try to determine the cause of that, and it is that. Then I can go back here, and further in here, they say to green Loctite the hydraulic lifters into the tappets, and otherwise oil can get under them and cause a click there. So let's see what else here. In 1000cc engines, having 4 matched cam gears is recommended to increase the size of 1 and 3 to take care of a noisy engine. An increase in gears 1 and 3 may be necessary, but no more than 2 size increases. That's where that is there. Made before also increase the size of gear 5 and 6, intermediate gears. If a gear whine or howl is produced by a size increase, it indicates there's not enough tooth clearance and the size of the affected gears must be reduced. An alternate method of gear selection requires removal of the valve push rods and tappet blocks and spark plugs, and check for gear tooth tightness by moving gears back and forth with a screwdriver and noting the resistance. So you know that's one way to do it. It is a problem. But the one thing I want to remind you again is the shaft run out from an out of true set of flywheels. It says on average there should be a slight drag. The gear should not be too tight at any one spot. This would indicate that the gear is out of round. And you keep going back to defective parts. Now, when they assembled the engines at the factory, they checked everything as best they could. They had dial snap gauges and dial bore gauges and people checking this stuff out. But the parts that they sold, no, maybe not so. And you can find factory parts that are out. You can find the import aftermarket stuff is probably usually out. You can generally count on stuff from S&S and GEMS, particularly GEMS, to be spot on, but you still need to check everything out. And I think you've seen some of the stuff I use. I have dial snap gauges and dial bore gauges that is used in industry. This stuff's used in industry. So here's a photo here, a drawing of the big twin right there. There's a breather gear, a pinion gear, and the cam gear. And the Sportsters have 4 cams. So see, it's more complicated. So if you have a problem on a Sportster, they suggest working with gear number 1 and 3 in the gear change in those sizes. So not necessarily that an engine will have the same exact same color codes, but if you ordered it, I don't know if you can even do that, like I mentioned, get these gears anymore from the factory as a set. They'll come as one color code, and I think it's usually red is right in the middle. Let me get that up there and you can see the color codes. And right in the middle is red. Orange is the smallest and black is the largest diameter. So once you get the cam covers on and you're building an engine, before you put the tappet guides in, roll the thing around, take a screwdriver and push the gears back and forth on the necessary in-play that they have, and see if there's any tight spots, and that can save you a lot of grief. You know, just, you have to look at everything. And on that note, if there's any bind at all, and I'm talking particularly Sportsters, if you're rolling you have the cylinders off and you're rolling the crankshaft around like that, if there's any bind, you better take care of it, and don't think it's going to work itself out. It'll probably work itself into a total engine failure. So I thought I'd just kind of go over that. If anybody has any further questions, I should be glad to attempt to answer it. There is so much stuff in the shop bulletins here. I don't think that I've looked around, and all I've seen for shop bulletins, they used to call it shop dope. I don't think there's this later stuff here I got up into the early 80s is available. I don't think they ever made this public. And this is interesting here. Under provision, this is 1978, under provision of the U.S. Clean Air Act, all street legal motorcycles manufactured after December 31, 77 must comply with Environmental Protection Agency EPA regulations. These reduce air pollution, eliminate crankcase emissions, and controlling exhaust emissions. According to engine modifications made in four-cycle models to reduce emissions, these models are approved for production by the EPA. Emission-related changes to our motorcycles include the following: recalibrated carburetor with fast idle choke system, breakerless solid-state ignition system, closed crankcase breather system, modified air intake and exhaust systems. What they did was they ran the breather hose to the carburetor. New 1200cc motorcycles beginning January 3rd, 1978 production, which incorporate the above changes. I think that's when they come out with that ham can air cleaner. Yeah, that's it right there. Okay, the warranties. Well, they're talking about the warranty of the EPA standards, up to 5 years or 18,641 miles. That's about when they're going to start burning oil back in those old days. Of course, in the Evo years, they made quite a bit better engines. They really did. They had new equipment and stuff like that, that the conglomeration that purchased the thing from AMF back about 1980-81. My certification there does not have AMF on it. And at the time, John Davison was chairman of the board. And then after him, I don't think they had a chairman that could ride a motorcycle. Okay, have a good one. I'll be back with more on that K model.